All right, so welcome to the Life Tradeoffs Podcast. I'm your host, Nitin, and today I got one of my best friends, Isaiah, and we've met for a minute. I think this is the first time we've seen each other in person.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy
Yep.
to think how you can create a whole internet friendship, but we've done that for the past year. He randomly
Literally.
hit me up, and you want to go into how you just how we met?
So I think you had been following one of my friends from St. John's. Her name's Natalia.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, he seems cool. And I was like, you know what? Let me just send him a message really quick because I saw your post and everything, and I saw what you're doing on your Instagram. And I was like, okay, he seems down to earth and chill. So I hit you up and I was like, hey, how's it going? I'm Isaiah. Just introduced myself. And then from there, we just started talking. And I don't know what it was, but it just clicked and we've been there.
Yeah,
We've
I
just been talking
remember.
ever since.
Your first text was you looked at my post about the spicy noodle challenge I did with my sister, and I was
Yes.
wearing the fraternity sweatshirt,
Hmm.
and you're like, "What fraternity is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's this, this, and this." And then we just got into that, because you were in one, and I
Yep.
asked you a bunch of stuff, and you were open, and we had this wild conversation that
It
we
was just
can't
a
talk
back and
about
forth.
in this,
Yeah, no.
but
Can't talk about it, but yes, it was
maybe
wild.
down the line we'll get
Down
into
the line,
the
sure.
juicy stuff, but we do have a lot of juicy things in this episode today, and that's
For
why I had to
sure.
get Isaiah on the pod. He's a really dope guy, got a lot of experience, and I'm just happy to have you here, man.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so
Uh,
who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm Isaiah. For those who don't know me, I am from Queens. I was born and raised in New York. I'm half Dominican, half Ghanaian. 20, go to Queens College, and I'm a psych major, which is great. I'm trying to get into psych education. I think I've always had an affinity towards psychology from a young age. I knew this is definitely something I wanted to do. And then once I got to college and I started actually going to classes and lectures, I was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. And I was like, you know what? Maybe it wouldn't be so bad becoming a psych professor and teaching everybody else because that's something that I'm very passionate about, educating others and, getting people to understand something that maybe they didn't before. So I thought, you know what, that might be a good idea, a good career path. So that's what I'm working towards now. Um, and oh, okay. So I'm really big on music and art and a whole bunch of other stuff. Anime is also a really big thing of mine. I love anime. But yeah, that's kind of what I do to keep myself busy.
Yeah, you tried to get me in a few animes, and I was like, dude,
Yes,
I know
I'm
I
telling you,
gotta
you
get to
have to
them.
get into it. You do. There's so many
Any
good ones.
any recommendations for shows that the viewers should watch?
Okay, well, I'm sure most people have heard of Attack on Titan. It's the final season that's going on now currently, so you guys can binge watch it and then catch yourself up to current day so that we can all witness the ending together because it's going to be lit. I just finished watching Banana Fish. It's this really, really cool anime about LSD and war, and I can't go into detail about it without going into 1,000 different side stories, but it's a really good anime. By far, my top 10. Hunter x Hunter is a classic. Everybody should definitely watch that. Bleach, Tokyo Ghoul. There's a bunch. I have a whole list, but definitely check it out.
That I mean, I could definitely gotta check it out as well. But you did mention singing, and I know
Yes,
you've been
sir.
singing for a minute now. So, how long have you been singing? How'd you get into singing, and who do you look up to?
Okay, so singing has been something that I've been doing personally for, man, well, I'm 20. I probably started maybe when I was 5. My mom and my dad both sing. My grandma, she was in church and she plays the drums and the piano and she sings too. So I was like, you know what? Let me try to pick this up. and it stuck, like I was able to sing. I started off in choirs mostly in church back when I used to go, and from there just escalated and I just fell in love with it. And I remember that I used to go from choir practice to like making songs in my room, and I would try to like record stuff with my uncles because back then he used to produce music. So music has just been in my family this entire time, so it kind of just like grew on me. Um,
That's
yeah,
the thing, though. It's like the things you're surrounded by like influence you so much. Like, do
yep.
you think you would have gotten into music if like your uncle didn't do it and your family didn't surround you with it?
You know, Probably not. I don't think I would have. I definitely think that my family being so deeply rooted in music was a big factor as to why I got into it. But they never once like pushed it onto me, like it was always just encouraged. Like, hey, like we all do music. Maybe if you want to do music too, try it. If you like it, continue doing it. If not, it's okay. But I loved it and I kept doing it. So it was great. As for people I look up to, I definitely have like a solid core group of artists that I think have definitely built my artistry to where it is today. Um, so for one, I have Billie Eilish. I love her. I just find her like super inspirational because she started at such a young age, and she's
Especially with
still
their
super young
brother.
now.
Yeah.
And her brother Phineas too. Yeah. Funny enough, I actually met him on the
Mhm.
train one day in Manhattan. It was pretty crazy. I was super like starstruck, but really fun. But yeah, Billie Eilish. I've been tracking her since like she first started in music. Like before she even became like a big name, she used to be on this thing called So Far Sounds. I don't know if you've heard of it, but they pretty much just have like artists come in and perform their music that they've created. And she performed her song 6 Feet Under. And after I heard that song, I was like, whoa, like this girl can sing. And I was like, I used to sing at a really young age. I wish that was me. So she's definitely somebody I look up to. Um, I also really love Kiana Lede. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but she kind of does like R&B soul kind of music. She's really good. Like she just released an album called Kiki. I think it was like last month, 2 months ago. Really good music though. If you're into that kind of stuff, there's a lot of tracks. She definitely creates a lot of music that like no matter what kind of genre of music you're into, there's something in the album for you. So I really like her for that. Sam Smith, another artist that I'm just in love with. He was definitely probably the most influential artist that I think I really look up to. From where he started to where he is now are like two completely different people. He still sounds the same, yes, but it's just the the lyrics that he uses now and the melodies that he's created and the people that he works with now versus then, night and day.
You
So
know,
for me, what happened? Go ahead.
I think that's the thing where like as you keep creating, your
Hmm.
story evolves. And so
Of course, yeah.
you he's a janitor, he has a lot of things to say, and
Hmm.
so he takes that and puts it into his music. And then throughout that process, we get to learn about his mind and where his thoughts are.
Yep.
And that's what you recognized how he's no matter how much production you can have, the lyrics are the lyrics. And
Yep.
he's going to
Hmm.
tell that story about where his mind is at. And
Yep.
that progression is just so crazy to see. Especially like now you look at Billie Eilish, you said
Hmm.
she's still so young and there's so much
Yeah,
growth.
there's so much more room for like she has the whole world to explore because she's still super young and still developing her own voice and everything. I definitely think that she's getting there. She's not there yet, and that's the exciting part because you never know where it's gonna go until they get there. Like,
Yeah, I mean, she has a lot of hits and they're
mhm.
bangers, and it's
For sure,
a
yeah.
type of genre that I feel like I wouldn't have gotten into if she didn't make that because she made
Hmm.
it almost like popular like that. Just slow, like, and then dramatic touches to her music.
Yeah.
Like, you just speed up, and sometimes it's so melodic at times, and you don't know what
Hmm.
to expect. Like, you'll have a bad guy versus like I don't know, my boy or like things songs like those so distinct. Like even Ocean
Mhm.
Eyes, the first
Ocean
song,
Eyes.
right?
Yep,
Like
yep.
you can't tell like what type of music she's gonna drop.
Yeah, I feel like she's, like, super okay, that's the other thing too. It's, like, a big dilemma with musicians, like, labeling yourself as one genre of music kind of limits you to that one construct of what that genre is, but she does it in a way that kind of, like, breaks that. So, like, normally she classifies as, like, an alternative artist, right? But there's elements of pop, there's elements of like R&B, soul, like she has all of that. And she knows what she's doing. Her and her brother, they're a tag team, they're a duo. They do everything together. And the way that they create their songs are so like pinpoint accurate and they purposely throw little things in there for the audience to catch on to, But it's kind of crazy. Like I just love how they do it. And I literally can't wait until they create more music. Like I always look forward to it.
Absolutely. It's like those little whispers, those like
Mhm.
type of things like voice notes is
Yep.
whether it be like the intro to the song where they have like that Invisalign or it's these little things in these songs just
Mhm.
make so much of it. Like especially like look at like Roddy Rich, like the type of
Okay. Okay.
sound that guy has in like the box. Like who would have thought of that type of like intro? Even the people in the studio thought he was crazy for doing that.
But that's what it takes, It takes a little craziness. You're a visionary. You gotta give everybody else the vision. You gotta sell it to them, and he did it. And there are a lot of artists that are doing it now, and it's super exciting to watch. Honestly, it really is.
You think they all get like a little bit of inspiration from like Kanye, from like all those type of beats
Hmm.
and like things that he says and does, like
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised because if you look at Kanye too, like his albums, if you compare them side by side, you probably wouldn't be able to tell them apart
mm-mm.
because of how different they are. Like the last album that he dropped, Jesus is King, that album compared to maybe his first album, no, night and day.
You
You
asked
can't
the
compare them.
you asked the Kanye Yeezus if you were gonna drop that album anytime in the future, he'd be like, "When I retire."
Yeah, yeah.
And this guy has no he's not stopping, but like this guy,
Mm-mm.
you go from Life of Pablo to Ye to Jesus is King. Like, where is he going next? There's no
Right. Like,
like,
where else could he possibly take it?
and that's the exciting part. But like, I do understand like the labels also like push people to diversify like their track list because
Hmm.
they want to appeal to more people. But like when
Right.
you have like Megan the Stallion rapping and then she adds like these catchy songs like the body song, right? And she
Hmm.
repeats that one word over and over. To me personally, I do not dig that song.
Right.
I do dig her other music, but it's what she's being pushed to do because she wants to either make TikTok music or things
Hmm.
that are just for people with short attention spans, I feel like.
Short attention spans. No, I get that. I do because I when that song first came out, I was like, okay, like this sounds interesting, and I downloaded it on my phone. Ask me if I've listened to it ever since.
No.
Nope. It's like a fad. It's like it's cool for like 5 minutes, and then it's like, okay, well that was fun, but now what? That's not really a song that I could sit there and listen to on repeat and be like, yes, like this is a great song. No, her other music for sure. There are other songs that she has that I listen to like when I'm working out at the gym or I'm just home cleaning. I'll listen to that, sure. But that one song, not so much. Not so
Like,
much.
I'll admit, I listen to Back to the Streets sometimes. Like, you know that song? That song
I
is
actually
not.
don't.
Oh my god, you gotta listen to it after we record. Like, they, d- it's with Swanti, and like they tell a story of how like
Mhm.
it's like females being empowered and like
Okay.
being a guy like I can rock to that type of music because it's like fire. Like they both can
Right.
like do their thing and it's just great music. But I know, as we mentioned, you make music and you love singing, and so you recently got a great opportunity. And
Ah.
what was it?
Okay. So I had auditioned for The Voice This was way back in July when I first sent out my audition video, and I didn't hear anything back for a while, and it wasn't up until I think early November that I got a call back, and they had told me like, "Hey, we liked what we heard. We'd like you to come in for a second audition. This time it's going to be with producers, and they're going to listen to your song, whatever you decide to sing, and we'll go from there. If you make it past this round, you'll be on the next season. If not, then you can always try again, right?" So I was super excited. I'm not gonna lie,
Of
because The
course.
Voice has honestly been like one of my biggest dreams ever since the show came out. Like this show
Definitely.
has been out for years, years,
Stop.
and the first it still is still going on.
Yeah.
The last season just ended like a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Um, but when it first came out, I was like, this is what I want to do. Instant reaction. This is what I want to do,
You see it on
and so I did it.
TV and you're like, "I wanna be there." And when you
Right.
do, it's
Yes.
unbelievable.
Yes, exactly. It was exactly that, and I was like, "You know what? That's where I'm gonna be. In the future, that's gonna be me." And I did my audition, they liked what they heard, and then callback happens. So, it's round 2 of auditions, and I was scheduled to do it on December 11th, right? So, the night before, I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna get well rested, I'm gonna go to sleep early so I can wake up, do some vocal warm-ups, and then do my audition." And I had left my window open and I turned my fan on and went to bed. Long and behold, I wake up in the morning with a sore throat. And you can only imagine how mortified I was, considering the fact that I only had 2 hours before my audition. So I pretty much spent that entire time just trying to figure out how to get rid of the phlegm in my throat. And none of it worked up until maybe an hour after I auditioned. So yeah, it wasn't that great. I will say I was definitely not singing at 100%. Not to mention the audio too. I couldn't test it beforehand, and I just did the audition, and it wasn't the greatest either. So that wasn't really playing against. It was playing for my favor. So yeah, it didn't really work out. And they sent me an email like, "Thank you for auditioning and everything, but you won't be making it past this stage." And I was like, "Okay." And I was definitely devastated. I was. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I took it as, well, there's always next time, because I'm not gonna let this one mishap tell me not to go and continue pursuing my dream. So I'm just gonna use the next couple months, just relax, practice, and then go again for the next season and see what happens, you know?
Absolutely. And, like, that's like, when I saw it on your story, like, you didn't even tell me, right? And so, like, I wanted to, like, personally, like, reach out to you, be like, "Bro, like, it's not your fault." It's like, stuff like this always
Right.
happens, and, like,
It does, yeah.
it's like what you can do to counteract that,
Mhm.
and that's, like, the point of, like, the type of character you have, like, and what you'll carry on throughout your entire career, like, there's always ups and downs,
Right.
and this is one of those downs, and so, you have the talent. I told you, you have the talent. It's
I
just
appreciate it.
that window was open,
Yeah.
and you just can't write this stuff up, and then I'm gonna be like I told you, like, years down the line, you're gonna look at this experience like, it shaped me in a certain way that I didn't realize at the time, and
Mhm.
now I'm where I wanna be, and those type of experiences are invaluable because
For sure.
you never learn until, like, you fall,
Right.
right?
Right. It's always a
Because
learning experience.
yeah, and so, you've been singing for a while, and so, like, how would you describe, like, your type of sound? Like, what type of sound do you have?
Okay. So for that, I kind of think it falls in the realm of like alternative pop meets like neo soul. Like that's kind of how I would try to describe it. Um I'm working on an album as we speak that I'm trying to get out. I finally found a studio that I can record in. So I have all the songs done too. It's just recording them and then putting it out there. So there are some songs on the album that are definitely like very pop oriented. There are other songs that are very like R&B soul oriented. And then there's a couple in there that are like a mix of everything. Like there's definitely going to be songs in there that everybody will like. Like no matter what you like music wise, you're gonna like some song on my album.
That's
So
exciting.
yeah, it really is. Like I'm super excited to get it out there because this definitely has been something I've been working on for like the last year now, and it's finally coming to a point where it's like, all right, like it's good. I want to get this out there now, and of course, I'm still working on other songs too. Just won't be on this album, but of course, there's gonna be more.
You know, I asked you before, but do you want to give like a little snippet of like how,
Ooh,
you know,
ooh,
give a give the people a teaser? They're like, I want to hear this kid, and
that's
I'm
tough. Okay, I don't mind. I just don't know what song to sing, to be truly honest.
anything you want,
Ooh, hmm.
like a few, like
Okay.
10 to 15, 20, so whatever you want, dude. I'm down for it.
He said he's down for. Okay, okay. I think. Ah, damn, that's so hard because there's so many good songs, literally. Okay, maybe I'll go with How Do You Sleep? Sam Smith. Sam Smith. That's a good song. Okay. I'm done hating myself for feeling. I'm done crying myself away. I've gotta leave and start the healing. But when you move like that, I just wanna stay. Something light. Maybe you might get a little bit more out of me a little later. Who knows? We'll
That was
see.
fire, bro. Like honestly, it felt like Sam Smith. I'm not gonna lie, bro.
He said it felt like Sam
I don't
Smith
know how it's gonna sound like after production, like
after
after
production.
after like the recording is rendered, but
Hmm.
through my headphones, it sounded like exactly him. And as dude,
That's
the
crazy.
type of like I think persona and like confidence you need to have for singing is like something you need to develop when you like want to pursue this because you
Hmm.
can be a shy
Yeah,
singer, but like to get opportunities, you need to be vocal,
that
right?
is very true. Yeah. So for me, it's still something that I kind of struggle with too. Like, there's definitely days where, if let's say I had a performance, I will be nervous, so nervous. But then it's like once you're actually doing it, you kind of start to forget that you're actually doing it and you're just in the moment. So that's always the good part. But there are a lot of people who do like get very shy where it really does affect them a lot. And I have a few friends that are like that. I was in a musical theater class where we had to sing, and there were a lot of students like that too. Like, oh my god, sorry, my throat just like clogged up for some reason. There are a lot of people like that too. But yeah, no, it's definitely something that like I feel like all artists should work on. Um, because in this business, like you're gonna be asked, like for example, to be singing on the spot. Like you need to be ready and prepared, and you can't be like, oh yeah, like I'm nervous, like I can't do it. Like no, because people are gonna be like, all right, well, wasting my time, not gonna do it. You know, always take the opportunity.
Yeah.
Um,
Like it's like they teach us in school. It's like you meet someone, let's say it's in an
mhm.
elevator, you got that 30 seconds. That could be your
Yes, your
opportunity right
elevator
there,
pitch.
right?
Hmm.
And your
Yep,
elevator pitch for as a musician is to sing.
yep.
And
Hmm.
if he's gonna ask or she's gonna ask, give me what you sound like. And if you can't produce that sound, that might have been your one chance of
That's true.
many, right? But I think people are nervous because they care. Like they
Hmm.
honestly really care about what's gonna happen. And if they can produce the way they want to, like the
Hmm.
result, the end outcome. And so I feel like being nervous isn't an issue, but rather just being confident that you can always like do well because you've been
Right.
practicing, you've been putting in work. So there's nothing to
Hmm.
be nervous about. Being shy, like I've been shy probably my first 18 years of my life. And then you look at my YouTube videos, I'm like literally stumbling on words and
Yeah,
it's
you would. Your videos now, like you would never think that you were shy before.
oh my god. You know what I did the other day? I took my old YouTube channel and so I
Hmm.
rebranded it to the podcast channel. So so I left all of my old videos there. So you can see that I almost started crying, bro. I'm gonna be honest. Like I looked at my old videos and there are videos of me recording on my laptop in my
Mhm.
so we bought a new house like 4 or 5 years ago,
Okay.
and we tore down parts of the house. Like the basement was fully torn, and some of the
Mhm.
rooms upstairs, and so the basement was full of sheetrocks. And I would literally
Mm.
sit down on a sheetrock, put my laptop on a sheetrock, hold an iPad connected to the laptop. Everything's like teetering, and I'm speaking through the speaker in the laptop, which is horrible because the fan turns on every 5 minutes.
Mhm.
And so as a naive, like, I don't know, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, I'm recording not knowing this happens every time. And for like the first
Mhm.
20 videos, this happens. And I eventually buy the blue snowball. And then I
Of
eventually,
course.
like, things start to happen. But like, you start to build that confidence. And I think
Yeah.
when I started to create, like, I posted every day for a whole year. And
Right.
I didn't do it for anyone. I honestly just did it to build my confidence, speaking to a camera, speaking to myself, basically.
Right.
And I think these are the type of things that people who are shy just start speaking. Just start speaking to anyone, to yourself. And it might be weird at first, but then you just get used to it, right? Like right now, we're just talking to
Yeah.
the screen.
Literally. Literally talking through a screen.
Yeah, like
But it's fine. Like honestly, it just takes practice. Practice makes perfect. Like if you can practice it, repeat it, repetition builds it up. You're good. You know, like it. Nobody's gonna be perfect right off the bat. It takes hours of dedication and time to like really hone your skill and get it good. But once it gets there, and then you're perfectly fine. You know.
yeah, and then that's when you can start to venture in, like, other areas,
Hmm.
and, like, you found your sound, you can go to a different spot, like, you look at Drake and, like, how the amount of, like, things that guy can do. Like,
Yep.
he can make a hit in, like, I think in any language, basically.
Pretty much. Pretty much. He went from acting on Degrassi to now he's making music. Like he does it all, you know. But again, it starts from somewhere. You
Mhm,
can't be shy and and acting on screen. But
absolutely.
practice, just practice.
You know, it's really, like, cool to see, like, a journey, and so your journey, like, is really inspiring. So, like, what would you say to people who, like, wanna sing and, like, have aspirations to, but they're too scared? And, like, I know we went into a little bit, but, like,
Yeah, yeah.
what advice would you
Okay.
give them?
So funny enough, I used to be the music club president back in high school for 3 years. And I would have kids come in asking me, like, hey, can you teach me how to sing? Can you show me the ropes? And I tell them all the same thing. And it's always, I can't teach you. I can only bring out what you already have. Right. And a lot of the times they have the natural talent to sing. It's just a matter of nerves and a matter of, fine tuning it so that they can be the best that they can be. So I would say definitely just don't be scared to sing. Like, even if you think you sound bad, you probably don't. And other people will think that you sound amazing. Like, I get that sense of, like, oh, I don't really sound that great today. Nobody's going to like it. But it's always the exact opposite. People will always tell you, like, no, like, that was great. And you just have to realize, like, you're your own biggest critic. So
Yeah,
as long as you can be okay with how you sound, everybody else is going to love it too. So if you're scared to sing, you want to get into it, I say go for it. Like there's no better way to do it than just diving straight in. Like just start singing, whatever your favorite song is, humming it in the bathroom when you're in the shower, or like just singing out loud, like do it. And then just start going from there, you know? And if you really want to
absolutely.
get into it, maybe go on YouTube, find like scales on a piano and sing along with it. Or if you know how to play piano, do it yourself, but just practice. And then eventually you'll get to a point where you can actually start performing.
So, like, that's 100% true, and, like, you know, what I do in my mind, I compare it to basketball. It's like, you'll never know how you shoot if you never attempt the shot,
Yeah.
and you can constantly get better at it, and, you know, once you do get better at it, there's days and slumps. Like you can get bad,
Mhm.
you can be bad one day, you can be hot one day, and you just want to have a consistent streak of being really good. And so that
Yeah.
comes with practice,
Mhm.
constantly shooting, constantly singing, constantly doing it. Like once a week may not be enough for you, depending on what your skill set is currently,
Right.
right? And so there's that learning curve. Like you learn a lot in the beginning, but you do need to put in more hours, and then
Of course, yeah.
more once you learn the fundamentals, that you can start to really go into like what you want it to be. And so
Mhm.
have you like gone into like different genres? I know like you're still like
Ooh.
you're on, you know what you're trying to do, but like have you ever like been like,
Mhm.
I wonder what I sound like in that type of sound?
So, I did when I was younger. Not so much now, but definitely when I was younger, I did, like, dabble in, like, country music. I remember my dad had, like, this karaoke game on the PS2, and you plug in a little mic, and it was, like, all country music, and we just sing together these country songs. I was really into it back then. Not so much now, because I just realized, like, my voice doesn't really fit that, or at least in my head, I don't really think that it fits that well, so I just tend not to do it. Um, I've done alternative music, I've done like rock music, I've done R&B, soul, like all of that. But I think now it's come to a point where I've just taken like all the things that I thought I did well and just threw them together and was like, all right, yes, this is what we're gonna do. And just hope for the best, like again, I don't really like to have like the labels just confine me to one thing, but at this point, like I definitely do think that my voice is better suited towards like alternative music, pop music, R&B and soul for sure. Like, and I just stick to that.
Got you. So like let's say you drop the album next year, and
Mhm,
and executive listens to it and he likes your sound, or he or she likes your sound, and then
mhm.
they want to sign you. Are you someone who wants to stay independent, or would you be willing to sign a record deal and just stay with them for a few records and then be independent? Or
See, that's the thing. I don't think I would be able to do that. Only because the music industry is very weird and complex. Like, I feel like once I get in, it would be very hard to get out. To like try to do my own thing. Like, if you look at Britney Spears, right? She was signed to a label, Kesha too. Both signed to labels where they were literally forced to make music that the label wanted them to make, and they weren't really doing their own thing. It was only after they struggled to get out of their contracts that they were able to start doing what they actually wanted. And I don't think I could do that. I really don't. Like, I have a hard time, not with authority, but just like staying confined in one spot. Like, I want to be able to venture out and do all these other things too, and like just test the waters. And I wouldn't have that freedom unless the label that was signing me was super like lenient with that and was like, yes, like you can do whatever you want musically as long as you're making hits and we can sell this.
you
If that
know,
was the case, by all means, yes.
you
But I'd
know
probably stay independent.
that makes sense. But then then you look at Taylor Swift, and she had the
Mm,
freedom to make whatever she wanted,
that's true.
but even with all of her money, she can't buy her um records. Like she can't buy back the, what's it even called? The masters for it.
Mm,
And you wonder like how much money did they actually make off of me? And
that
how
is true
much
too.
did I
Yeah.
get from that? Like I'm getting this
Mhm.
much and you got the whole pie, bro.
Right, like, you give me a crumb. Like, yeah, that is also something to worry about too. But at the same time, that's only if you're really in it for the money. Like, of course, fame and success is great, yes, but I don't really make music for that. Like, the music I make is strictly because I like making it, and I hope that maybe a song that I made would touch somebody else and be like, okay, yes, like this resonates with me. I like this. Let me, share this to somebody else. Maybe it'll help them too. That's why I make music. Not really so much for like, monetary value, but if it happens, it happens. I'm not complaining, but
Yeah,
for the most part, it's just, a hobby.
absolutely. And then, I think the issue lies there is that you're taking your piece of the pie,
Mhm.
and it's bigger than mine, but I'm there paying all of the expenses from my paycheck, right? Because that's the
Yeah,
caveat in
yeah.
this, that the artist
Mhm.
has to pay for the marketing and all
Yep.
the other expenses, but
Marketing, studio time, all of
you
that.
keep
Yeah.
your pie already, and why can't I touch that,
Yep.
right? And
That's
so
true.
I think what that needs to be done, and I think people like Kanye and like Taylor Swift are trying to do this, is that they're promoting a culture where there should be a deal on how you can get your masters or have a piece of your masters to begin with. I know
Mhm.
the labels are taking a risk on you, but they did see something in you for that to happen.
Right.
And
Right.
they're banking on a lot of artists to make it. And so if one or two pop, they should be rewarded. Like, Dave
Right.
Chappelle, like the comedian,
Yes. The
right?
comedian, yes.
So he blew up years ago. He made a
Mhm.
special, and like the special did amazing. Before that, he wasn't really popular, but that
Right.
special really helped him. All of the things that he did really helped him afterwards. And a few months ago, or even a month ago, he was like, "My master, my all of the things I did prior,
Mhm.
I don't own, and I haven't got money for that." And there's two sides to that story. It's like, what you were getting into, and
Right.
also there's a sympathy side of it that he should be compensated because he made you a lot of money. And so, where do
Mhm.
you stand on that? Like, where would you side on? Like,
Honestly, I think the worst thing for any artist would be to have your art and your work out there, but not getting the credit that you deserve for it. And I see that happen with a lot of people, like, even on, like, with these TikTok people, right? You ever have, like, a sound on TikTok and you're like, "Oh, I wonder what this song is," because 'cause you've never heard of it before? I forgot what this girl's name was, but she made a song on TikTok and they used it in like a song that blew up and they didn't give her the credit for the song. And that would suck, honestly. It would suck if that were to happen to me. Like I know for a fact I would be like, damn, like that was something I spent time and energy to make. And I'm not getting the credit that I deserve from that. At the same time though, with that scenario, you are getting yourself into it and you know what you're getting yourself into. There is a lot of fine print, don't get me wrong,
no,
and
I
some
agree.
people don't really pay attention to it, but I think I would definitely side with like the sympathy, because I can understand like having your art out there and not getting the credit that you deserve. That would
Exactly.
honestly suck.
So, like, okay, like they use that sound, and like people are starting to dig it. And so let's go back to the Roddy Rich example. Everyone uses the
Okay.
box song, right?
Hmm.
And they don't credit it. Eventually, someone will figure out that this was Roddy Rich, and all of that exposure just adds up and balls up and comes to you because everyone's been using it. And so I feel like the comedian like Drewski, he
Hmm.
blew up through people reposting his videos without crediting him. But people are like, yo,
Okay.
this guy is really funny. And it got sent to Drake, it got sent to like other famous people, and he became their boys from people just reposting stuff that didn't even give him credit. And
Right.
the numbers may not look good on his page, but overall in the internet space, people know who he is. And I feel like it's a such a weird concept of copyright issues. Like,
Yeah.
you're using my
Yeah.
content, right? But then you know what the Congress did in this recent bill? They're trying
Hmm.
to slip in a clause that says if you use copyright music of any sort on a stream in a video, even if you're just playing it and it's in your like Snapchat,
Hmm.
you can go to jail for that.
Oh, for
Dude,
what?
because these guys that have no sense of knowledge about music or any type of entertainment, they're just so corrupt in a sense that they want to make money from the music that their artists produce. Like, do you not make enough money and you don't pay your artists
Right.
enough? Worry about
Right.
that first.
That's crazy. That's actually crazy.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
they
Like,
try to
no.
slip that in the last bill, and it's still getting like passed. Like it hasn't been passed yet, but they're gonna get it passed. And what can we do to help reverse that? Like we can't do anything.
Literally. That's
And
honestly trash.
like
Wow.
we should be able to vote on these things. Like vote for presidents and officials,
Yeah,
but
of
vote on
course.
bills. And I know we voted for the people that are in office, but they're doing a crap job. Like look at California.
Mm.
Who is it? Like Newsom literally has no clue how to run the whole state. He's closing down things, opening them back up, and Florida's like, we'll just leave everything open, and California's like, we're just gonna destroy every small business in our town.
No, well, it's happening here too. It's happening here
Exactly.
too.
And
Like,
you're in the restaurant industry. Like,
I
how's that
am
going?
not great. I'll tell you that much. Um, Quarantine is like, all right. Well, let's start in quarantine, right? Let's start there. Once the whole virus thing started happening and people were on lockdown, I was still working. I was still out there at the restaurant waiting tables, and it's crazy to see how it changed so fast from, people being able to walk in no problem, hey, take a seat, I'll be right with you, to now, okay, everybody has to have their mask on before they enter. I'm taking your temperature, I'm taking your contact info, all of this stuff before you even get to order. And I'm just like, wow, like this is kind of crazy. And it wasn't that bad during quarantine. I will say it was still pretty normal as it can get with everything that's been going on. But as of recently, no, it just went downhill the longer this has been going on. And the restaurants have definitely been taking a toll. Like I work in a restaurant in LIC, and a lot of the restaurants that are over there are really struggling right now. And it's not even just there, it's everywhere in New York right now. Everybody's limited right now to just outdoor dining. And that kind of sucks right now, considering how it's winter and it was snowing like a week and a half ago, and it's cold, and not everybody has space heaters outside to make everybody nice and toasty. Um, so a lot of people are out there in the cold eating. Then on top of that, you have to worry about taking everybody's contact info. You have the Department of Health coming in for inspections every day to make sure that you're taking everybody's info. And if you don't, you get written up. And that's money that the company is now dishing out for tickets as opposed to putting that money towards maybe space heaters or maybe putting that money towards paying their employees. And then businesses shut down. So like the restaurant I work at shut down a week and a half ago, and we thought we were going to be fine and everything was okay. We made a move halfway um through quarantine, and we changed locations, so that was already tough on us. But then of course Cuomo shut down indoor dining, and it was strictly outdoor. We didn't have space heaters at the time, and they didn't have the money to buy them yet. So we pretty much got screwed over and they shut it down. And my boss was like, hey guys, I'm sorry, but we can't really do anything right now. So you're going to have to either file for unemployment, maybe find another job, but we won't be open until like maybe March. Maybe March.
Oh my
It's not
god.
even definite. So,
The lack of sympathy from the government and just goes to show how important it is to vote in the right person. And so
mm,
Cuomo, like people are saying he's doing a great job, but like he's been getting shit for like the thing that happened in the nursing homes, how he's handling these restaurant closings. Like there should
uh,
be help provided to these businesses. There's okay,
it
how
should be,
many
yeah.
people are going to sit outside and eat in the cold with snow on the
Not,
ground, right?
not a lot. I'll tell you
And
that.
people who are ordering like they're for delivery, for
Mm,
takeout, that is not enough for the business to run. That says
it's
basically
not.
if you want to break even, if even that, because you got to pay
Barely,
the
barely
person
breaking
to
even.
go there, right? DoorDash and all
Hmm.
of these Uber Eats have to get paid first. And
Right.
you're barely making money. You got to pay the people who work for you too. And you're talking about all these unemployment benefits that are going to expire if Trump doesn't sign the bill in 2 days.
Literally, literally.
And it's, you're like, how do you go the entire summer without sending another check? And the lack of in irresponsibility on their end is so disturbing because you go from a 600 to a 2000, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have expectations of the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to say, we're not going to pass this because we're in support of small businesses, which is total BS because you're not supporting them because they're going out of business.
They're still closing.
They're
They're still
closing.
closing as we speak.
Many businesses are not going to come back from the way that they were handled because
Mm-hmm.
9 months of rent, and they talk about rent forgiveness, but then money provided for that isn't available. And there's so
Right.
many things that you have priority for. You have priority for election fraud and all of these other things that are important to you, right? But
Right.
how about your actual people that vote for you? And
Mm-hmm.
I understand that it's really hard right now. Like, you have no idea what's going to happen in a few months. It's scary. You
Yep.
got to do extra things now. You got to make sure this person has a vaccine, or this person has the correct temperature,
It's
or
crazy.
like,
It's literally crazy.
would you think
It's
that indoor
ridiculous.
dining's safer than outdoor dining?
See, that's the thing. I've never understood why we had to close indoor dining because when it was open, things were fine. Even when indoor dining was still a thing and people could walk in and sit and eat, it was fine. Obviously, people are not stupid. They know, hey, 6 feet apart, social distance, wear your mask when you come in. Okay, that's fine. You sit down, you're still spaced apart, you can eat. Okay, amazing. My thing is, when you take off your mask, regardless, you're exposing yourself, right? It's the same thing outdoors. It's
Mhm.
literally the same thing outdoors. I'm still sitting across from you at a table. It's gonna happen. Like if people get sick, they're gonna get sick. Like it's bound to happen regardless. Granted, we're trying to stop it, yes, but you have to also understand that it's gonna happen regardless.
I think it's like, to play devil advocate for a second here, is I
Mm,
think these politicians are listening to science, and as they should, but they're taking decisions on their own. And so they're probably saying that there's lack of ventilation in these restaurants. And so
mm,
the outdoors, if you sit outdoors, you'll be able to have that air, fresh air. And
right.
so put on
Yeah.
your mask after every bite, or do all these stupid things that you wouldn't do. And so
Literally.
you know what you're doing? You're telling me I shouldn't listen to you and I should just go to my house and invite all of my friends and then take out food.
But then they get mad when that happens too.
Well,
But
we
then
still do it.
yeah, we still do. Oh, of course.
Like,
Did you know that Airbnb had to change their age limit for renting out rooms
mhm.
because they realized that a lot of people were booking rooms and houses just to meet up during this time? Like that's crazy. But we only have that option because everywhere else is now closing. Like I can't go outside and be like, "Hey, let's go get food at a restaurant" if the restaurant's closed because hey, things weren't taken care of the way they should have been.
Yeah.
And that's how it comes down to.
And I feel like, so let's say restaurants do open up eventually, and
Mm,
hopefully they do. They have to be required to make sure you have a COVID. Like, they provide restaurants with rapid testing, like kits.
okay.
And so they give it to the person. They say, come in advance, like 30, 45 minutes, and we're going to
Hmm.
test you. And if you're good, you can go inside, you can go eat, but we're going to charge you a small fee. That fee should go to the person, the waiter, the cook, the people, not
Mm,
back to the business. The business will get it from
yeah.
the government, but you need to consider that like a tip because
Right.
people are risking their lives for to make a living.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, you
students
gotta
like
pay the
us,
bills, you
yeah,
know?
because students like us, most of us aren't getting these stimulus checks.
Nope.
We don't get a cent of that because either we're claim dependent from our parents, or there's some loophole that they figure out that they don't have to pay us. And
Yeah. Yep.
it's, how do you function if you have mountains of debt and a pandemic ensuing? Obviously, you're gonna devalue online education,
Mhm.
and you're gonna be scared for the future. And
Yeah.
is this the type of government we want?
Not really. Not really. Nope. No.
Oh my God. And so, when do you think things will start getting normal? I know you mentioned a little bit, but
Honestly, I don't even know. I wouldn't be able to tell you. Like, I don't think that this vaccine that's going out right now is going to be it for us. I don't think so. There's definitely going to be a second wave. And when it does hit, this vaccine isn't going to cut it because it would have probably already mutated by then. It'll be a whole other virus, right? And the antibodies that we're building up for it now are not going to be able to defend against it later, you know? So, and plus, I don't really trust it. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not really 100% into the whole idea of this vaccine that magically appeared after a year of, not even a year. It'll be a full year in what, February? Almost,
I
right?
think it's not like they developed in a year. I think the science has been there. I think they used the conceptual idea of the
Mm,
mRNA. And so they've been testing to see if they can use that technology for the COVID vaccine.
gotcha.
Like they didn't like make it like in a few months, but rather they use the traditional techniques that they've been
Mm,
formulating over the years. Thing is, vaccines need to go through extensive trials to see
right.
side effects. And so I've gone
Uh,
through this on my story where I mentioned the effects of efficacy and effectiveness. And so efficacy is the results you get in an ideal experiment. You pick the
mm,
best, healthiest people and see how good our vaccines perform against them. And so
okay.
when you see a 90+% efficacy rate, that's the best ideal like scenario. And so
Right.
effectiveness is what we want to look at. Effectiveness is when you do it to the normal population. When you have people with allergies, you have people with different genetics. And so
right.
that doesn't get accounted for. And that's why you see people dropping and getting unconscious because they didn't account for that. And then you have
Right.
emergency like testing, and then you have all these announcements of, oh, if you have an allergy, do not take this. And
Right.
whatever
Right.
allergy, because we don't even know what's gonna happen to you.
Like, good luck,
Yeah,
honestly.
like, but okay. Do you think the vaccines that these officials are getting on camera? First of all, it's so weird that you have to film this, but
Yeah.
you think it's real?
Yeah.
You think it's just water?
It's like a little placebo,
We could
honestly.
just
I wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised. Surprised. I would not be surprised at all.
yeah. It's all propaganda for us to take it.
Hmm.
Like, I
Honestly.
s I saw people on my story, like, they saw like, they're taking pictures of their vaccine card, and it says, like, dose 1 because Pfizer has 2 doses. It says, "Dose 1 taken on
Uh,
this day," and you gotta take it a few weeks later, and you gotta have that card everywhere.
that's crazy. And that's gonna be how they identify us now. When we're out in the streets, we're gonna go to a restaurant. Hey, do you have your little vaccination card? Because that's what it's gonna be.
And
I
they're gonna
can
start
promise
tracking
you.
us.
Yep. Yep. That's how it's gonna be.
"Oh, we know you don't
For
have it. You're
sure.
lying to us."
Hmm. Hmm.
And you're like,
You'll
"How?"
get fined. Like, no.
Oh my god.
Not looking forward
They're
to that.
gonna force us to take it because you can't go anywhere without the card.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
It's not gonna be fun. I can promise you that one. It's not gonna be fun.
Oh god. So
They're already what were we gonna say?
they force you to take it, you take it?
No. Okay, put it this way. Put it this way. My dad is a nurse, right?
Mhm.
He's been doing this for the last, I want to say, 15 years of his life. Not even he wants to take the vaccine, and he's done his research. And I trust my dad like 100%. So if he's not getting it, best believe I will not be touching it either. No,
You
it's
know,
fine.
I mentioned in a few podcasts ago, I was like, so you have these people that don't wanna take the vaccine, and they're saying it
Mhm.
vocally on their stories and whatever and online.
Right.
And so you have these people who take the vaccine or for the vaccine, and they tell them, "Okay, do not influence people to not take it, don't scare them." And then
Mhm.
you know what they do on the flip side? They say, "Okay, here, you should take the vaccine, here's why." And it's like, are you educating them so they can make an informed decision? Or are you
Right.
like giving them information, force feeding them to say, here, take it, because we
Right.
need people to
Right.
take it?
Like either way, you're influencing something. So you
Yeah.
might as well let people have their freedom of speech and just say what they need to say. That's it. Like,
I I mean, a lot of things affect people in a way. And so
mhm.
whatever I say is going to affect someone. So let me say what I need to say. It's my opinion. You have your opinion. So
Exactly.
deal with that.
Exactly.
And
Hey, if the news can talk about it 24/7, besides the whole election stuff that's been going on, then I can go on my story and say how I don't want to take a vaccine. And that's perfectly okay. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's the gray line here is that do I have a choice?
mm, will
Is
they
it
give
a,
me the choice is the real question. Like,
yeah, matter of time
that's
before I gotta take it? But oh
right,
God, I think giving it to like the healthcare workers and all these
mhm,
doctors, that's concerning because if something actually happens to them, who's there for us?
right,
Because
right.
these are the most
They're going to be the
consistent
first
people.
ones.
These are our
Yeah,
saviors. Like the government people, forget them. These are the people who are actually going to save us if something happens to us. And so if something
that's kind of
happens to
scary.
them, who saves them? And
That is a
so
scary thought.
that's why I was
Honestly.
hesitant at first. I was like, why would you give it to the
Mm.
doctors? Even the doctors and nurses are like, I don't want to take this.
Yeah, they don't. Because there's not enough testing to show that this is actually going to be something that's effective and works. But yet they want to shove it down our throats and stick a needle in our arm and be like, hey, all right, take it. I don't think so.
It's the thing like, oh, it takes a few seconds. And so, I mean, a lot of things take a couple seconds and have severe
Yeah.
consequences, right? And so,
Yep.
you know what I mean? And then, do you want to take that risk?
No. I'll pass. I'll pass for now.
Oh God. And
Honestly, I'm not in a rush.
so, has your restaurant thought about like doing partnerships with like streaming companies like I don't know, like AMC or like Hulu or Amazon Prime where like you can package together like food with an
Mm.
experience attached with the film. And so if they do that, it'll give the person at home the same experience of like being at a movie theater when they have their food already at their door and the film is already coming on.
Mm.
You know what I'm talking about?
I get you. I get you. I don't think they would. I'll be very honest with you. And it's not because it's not a good idea. It's more so because I know my boss and he's very stubborn to say the least. So I can assure you that he would never in a million years do that at all. And that's okay. You
Yeah.
know, to each their own. But I just want to start working. Like I definitely have college tuition to pay and it's not cheap. So the sooner the better.
Absolutely. And so I know you've mentioned before, like we got into the podcast, like
Mm.
you had some experiences this past week
Ah,
and they were quite eventful. And so,
they were.
you know, it's almost like, those lights in your background right now? I feel like
Oh yeah.
those could contribute well to that experience. And so go into like some sort of, what did you do?
How illicit can I get? Like, can I say the name of what I did? And
Yeah, go for it.
okay, cool, cool. Okay, so last week Wednesday, I think it was, I decided I would be adventurous and trip on acid. Um, I know that sounds like a very odd statement to make, but it's not my first time. It's not my first time. I'm
You're
like a seasoned
professional.
vet.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. At this point, I am.
You know how to say on the
And
bottom, we are trained professionals. Do not try this at home. You're the
yes,
professional.
I'm the professional. And honestly, don't try it at home unless you do your research and you're ready. Let's throw that out there before people start popping pills and stuff. Like, no, don't do that. So yeah, acid. I did acid with two of my frat brothers, and it was great. It was a really great experience. For those of you who don't know what acid is, it's pretty much this chemical. and they put it on a piece of paper, and it's measured in what is it?
Grams?
Mics.
I don't know.
Micrograms, yeah, I just call it mics, or MU, in the fancy science terms. And pretty much you put the tab either on your tongue or under your tongue, and you just let the chemical diffuse into your bloodstream, and then maybe give it an hour. You'll start getting like some visuals and stuff, things like that. And after that, it'll probably last for maybe 2, 3 hours. The rest of the time, keep in mind this lasts anywhere from 8 to 12 hours when you use it, which is a long, a long time. Um, you only have a high for 2 or 3 hours tops. The rest of it is all just like a headspace.
You say 2 to 3
So
hours like it's nothing.
I say that like it's nothing, but when you're actually doing it, it feels like forever.
Yeah.
Like time does not. Well, I'll get into that later because that'll probably be something I bring up. But yeah, no, it's nothing crazy. It's nothing crazy.
I
So
heard like shrooms is like taking 20 times acid.
So I've done shrooms too. I've done shrooms 3 times, and it's definitely way more intense. So they're very similar in what they do, but acid, you have more control. Like you're at the steering wheel, you can turn the wheel and drive where you want to go for the most part. Shrooms is kind of like you're in a Tesla and it's driving itself and you're just there for the ride. So good luck to you. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's crazy stuff. But yeah, so visuals. You get visuals for 2 to 3 hours. When you're actually on acid, time does not exist. It doesn't. I know that sounds very weird, but time does not feel like a real thing. I would sit there for maybe 5 minutes. 5 minutes would feel like an hour. And you're there for 8 to 12 hours. So that's a long time already as it is. So having that feeling of like 1 hour really being like 5 minutes, it's crazy. Like the time does not seem to end. But yeah, I did it with my friends. And before that, I went to a crystal shop. I don't know if you know about crystals and like all that stuff.
So just for our viewers, I've never done these things.
Yes, let's clarify.
I haven't done any acid or shrooms or anything like that, or LSD or any things, but I'm curious to experiences. I know, like, I've heard, like, there's this person on the internet called Joey Diaz, and he has these really descriptive things of how he mentions, like you said, with the time, that you take it and it feels like an hour and it's only been like a minute and you're like super paranoid, like everything's just like moving. And
yes, that is something you definitely need to get used to if you were to do it. Like anybody who's done acid before knows that the visuals get kind of crazy, and they typically start off with first like a kind of like a stomach cramp. And it's not even really a cramp. It's more just your body's aware of your actual digestion. So you feel everything down there. And it's you get used to it. You get used to it. It doesn't hurt. It's just something that you have to be aware of. You kind of lose track of your breathing sometimes. So like I could go a minute and a half, which I actually did. I timed it. I timed myself holding my breath to see how long I could last before I decided to take a breath. A minute and a half was the time. Definitely wouldn't be able to do that like this, completely sober. No. I definitely like pushed the limit there. But the room typically moves around you, and a lot of people describe it as like your environment breathing with you. So let's say for my room, for example, if I were to do it right now, the walls would definitely be moving with me. The floor would be wavy. The ceiling
like an
would be moving. Like yes, perfect example. The ocean, exactly that. And that's just barely scratching the surface. Like that's very minimal stuff with acid. So for me, that trip, I had gone to a crystal shop because I'm really big on like spirituality, and that's why I've been doing acid as much as I have been. One, because I used to be super depressed, and I did, my research and saw that they used to use acid for people with depression because it literally lights up your whole brain. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot and see what happens. And I did the first time. And I can promise you, the little depressed boy that I used to be compared to now, two very different people. Like, you would not be able to tell the difference between them. And so with this, like, I went to a crystal shop and I decided I was going to buy some crystals for my brothers as like a Christmas gift, an early Christmas gift. So I bought a couple of them. I don't know if you can see them, but
What
they're
again?
cute little crystals, you know.
Wow. They look like rocks.
They're literally rocks. No, they are.
Wow.
They are. So
where do you find them? You make it into rocks, or is it?
No, it's like a naturally occurring like geode that they then just polish.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. They're really cool. And the reason I'm into them is because of acid. Like, so acid talk. When you're on acid, typically you'll realize that, and this is going to sound really weird, but like life is kind of like a simulation. And I know you spoke about this with Emily in the last podcast, but life literally feels like a simulation. And a better way to think about it is this: everything in the world, right, is energy, right? And we know that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but just transfers from one state to another, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So everything, therefore, has some kind of vibrational frequency to it, right? Because energy is matter vibrating.
Yeah.
Cool. So the theory behind it is that we are like, I guess it would be like 5-dimensional beings living in a 3-dimensional body, if that makes any
You're
sense.
like floating.
Think of like astral projection, astral body, like, or okay, think about Avatar, Legend of Korra. I don't know if you're familiar with either of those, but you know how like they enter the avatar state, right? And they have like this out of body experience where they're connected to everything and they can access memories of like their former selves, right? Think about acid as being the gateway to opening up your mind to that. So my friend Jose says it best. He pretty much says that you're playing a game. Life is a game. And when you take acid, you start to realize that the person up above, your higher power, is really yourself. It's just a higher state of consciousness. And acid makes you aware of that. So you're playing this game as this higher state of consciousness within the 3 dimensions that we live in, right? So I'm living my life out right now, but everything that can or has happened in my life will happen. So like the past, present, future is already laid out. I know this sounds really weird. It sounds crazy.
No. I'm on board right now because I agree with you that even like Deja Vu that I mentioned a few.
Yes.
That's so weird. Is it like I dreamt of it happening already? So like to me, it's like everything's already happened.
Right. And that's because it has. Like literally anything that can happen will already happen. It's already been plotted out. So like Deja Vu and Intuition, right? There are theories that say that like your higher state of consciousness, when you get that feeling of deja vu, you're remembering something from that higher state of consciousness, because keep in mind, you've already lived this out. So you already know what's going to happen. So you get a flashback like, oh wait, this is going to happen, and then it does. Your intuition is your higher state of consciousness guiding you and pretty much telling you like, hey, we made this decision last time. Maybe let's not make that same mistake again. Let's try a different path. Let's see if we can change an outcome. And that's why I say it's kind of like a simulation, because you can change the outcome, but it's all plotted, you know, like it's weird. It's really weird. And it's so hard to explain it sober to other people who haven't done it. But I'm sure for those who have done it, if there are any listeners out there that have, you can kind of relate.
I think the closest that you can go without doing it is being sleep deprived. And so I have my best ideas when I don't sleep for like 2 or 3 nights straight, like no sleep. My mind will go to places that it has never gone. my mind is spinning. I'm literally everywhere. And so that to me, that's what drugs feel like. And so I don't know what's going on, but everything's hitting me at 100 miles per hour.
Mhm.
Everything's like moving. I can hear every little sound,
Yeah.
and ideas are floating somehow in my mind that are so profound that if I was sleeping regularly, I wouldn't think of that because my mind
Yeah.
wouldn't diverge to that. So it's like
Mhm.
something opens when you do these things. It's so like I
Yeah.
know Joe Rogan, this guy talks
Love
and
him.
does like a lot of DMT. And
Mhm.
so he's like, your brain produces naturally some DMT. And so it's like you do it. And so to enhance the amount you already have. And so
Right.
have you done DMT, or are you planning to ever do DMT? Like, what do you?
So, I've never done DMT. I have looked into doing it, and I definitely do wanna try it, but it's very hard to get your hands on. So I that's the only reason why I haven't done it yet. But I definitely do plan on trying that. I do know, like, from what other people have said about it, it doesn't last very long, like, in real time,
Yeah.
but when you're actually on it, it feels like a lifetime. And like even Mike Tyson, I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast the other day at my
Mhm.
barber shop, and Mike Tyson did DMT,
Oh, he does. He
and
eats shrooms. Like he eats handfuls of
yeah,
shrooms,
literally,
and
and
he
he had,
doesn't.
he had an ego death, a literal ego death, where he realized like his whole career of fighting was just him running away from his insecurities and things that his inner demons, pretty much. And he literally cried like a child. He was crying. And I was like, whoa, like that's really powerful.
Mhm.
Like to experience something like that. And that's what most people who do psychedelics are like shooting for, really. The ego death, because the ego literally keeps you grounded to this dimension,
It shields
if that
all
makes
of
any
your
sense.
pains from everyone else,
Yes.
and so you have
Yes.
that persona in you of, "I'm this bad
Hmm.
MFer," and so that's me, but on the inside, I'm soft as the f so
Right. Like
soft,
you're
right?
you're not that.
Yeah,
Um
and
yeah,
that comes
no.
out when
It does.
you're vulnerable at that. It's like being
Hmm.
drunk. You can ask anyone anything, and they'll just tell you, and then in this case, it's
Yeah.
just coming out.
Hmm. Yeah, literally. And
Wow.
that's what psychedelics do. Like they enter a part of your subconscious mind and they draw out the most vulnerable thoughts that you have,
'Cause that's what
and
you
they bring
think
it to the
about.
surface. Right. Right, because it's literally all in your head. Like
Yeah.
it's you, it's a part of yourself. So it's going to make sure that it drags it to the surface and you have to deal with it.
Mhm.
That's what it's really meant for. So like if I'm ever going through some kind of issue or some situation where I feel very lost or like I just feel depressed or whatever the case may be, right? If I feel like I can't solve and deal with it sober, I would try and drop acid and see how that works, because 9 times out of 10, I can promise you I have gone through my life's most rough ups and downs with acid, and I've always come out better every time.
Yeah, and, of course, listeners, like, I wouldn't recommend you do acid. I'd probably
Right,
ask your
right.
doctor if it's
Ask your
something that would
doctor,
be
check in
good
with a
for you.
physician.
If you do plan on doing it, I guess take very little because we don't want something to happen to you.
Right,
Um,
right.
just
Do
use
your research.
precaution, right? So,
Yeah.
like, Isaiah has great experiences with it. Sometimes it won't work out the same way, and so
Right,
we want you to be as safe as possible. So, like, have
of
you ever had, like, a
course.
bad trip?
Yes, of course. I've tripped on acid a total of 13 times. As of last Wednesday, 13 times.
Wait,
Shrooms 3
since last
times.
Wednesday, you've done
No,
it
no, 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 no.
13.
Okay, no.
Oh, okay,
No,
bro.
no, no. I'm saying since I started, I've done it
Yeah.
13. That's crazy.
You're
Now
like,
I
"Mike
would not be
Tyson
here.
who?"
Right, like I gotta be nah. Ever since I started. So I started when I first started college. Yeah, my first semester was when I first tried it. Since then till now, it's been 13 times with the 3 times of shrooms thrown in there too. But there have definitely been times where I'll get a bad trip. And here's the thing with that. So like a lot of people will say like, "Oh my god, like you're going to have a bad trip." The only time that ever really happens is if you allow yourself to have that mindset of, "Oh, I'm going to have a bad trip." You create your own reality. So if you say you're going to have a bad trip, not you're going to have a bad trip. Let's hands down, you're going to have a bad trip no matter what.
Oh, yeah, especially with your
Um
surrounding, you're
oh
like,
yeah,
"Did that
that
window
plays a
did that
big part
blind
too.
just open? Did that door just
Mhm.
open? Did
Mhm.
I just hear something?" It's
Yeah,
yourself
you get
just
paranoid.
right?
You get very paranoid. Like I've done it indoors, I've done it at my house, I've done it in the woods, I've done it like walking around town. Like I've literally done it in most places. And it literally is a mixture of your surroundings and the mentality that you have going into it. So as long as I go into it with the mentality of, well, I'm going to learn something about myself and I'm going to grow from this, I will. If I go into it thinking, "Oh my god, this is gonna be horrible," it's gonna be bad because I just put that out there into the universe, and now that same energy is gonna come right back, you know? It's like karma. The energy you put out comes right back to you. So if I'm putting out that negativity, it's gonna come right back.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I just like to go into it, nice and easy, like, "Yeah, this is gonna be good." Granted, you can do that and, halfway through your trip, you might get, like, paranoid and you might start having a bad trip, which happened to me this last one. I didn't get paranoid, but I saw some visuals that were very intense to say the least. And I got a little scared. And
Could
that
you
was probably one of
describe
the
it?
first times. Yeah,
Could you
sure. I could definitely I could definitely describe it. So I don't know if you've ever seen a Bible accurate angel, like a picture of it. Well, check it out later. For those of you listening, if you haven't seen it either, by all means look it up. I was laying on the floor just meditating, right? Because I like to meditate and just reflect. And I was holding some crystals. And I told you I had gone to the store before we started tripping and I bought some crystals. And I bought this crystal called selenite, which is this. And the description of it was that it was supposed to bring you closer to the angelic realm, right? And I didn't really think much of it. I was a little skeptical. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to hold it. I'm going to play around with it. Let's see what happens. And I sat there meditating, and it's so hard to describe, but at first it started out with just colors of red, gold, and black. And then the longer I sat there meditating with it, the clearer the picture became. It was almost like there was like a lens over it that was just making it focus.
Mm.
And it was this big, like spherical object. It was like a ball in the middle, and then there was like a bunch of rings just going around it, just like moving all around it. And it, I looked it up after the fact, and it was a Bible accurate angel or like a representation of that. But it was almost demonic in a way, which was kind of crazy to me because like how can something that's supposed to be a Bible accurate angel, something that's associated with heaven, be demonic? Um, and then I also got like a visual of something coming out of the bathroom, and I was like, okay, let me put this down now. And I was a little scared. I was like, all right. But that was probably like the craziest visual that I got because it was so accurate. And then after that, it wasn't even just like it was my brain coming up with it. We started watching videos about like, acid, and I don't know if you've heard of like the Anunnaki. If you have not, okay. It's like an ancient civilization of people that pretty much I can't really even describe that. It's kind of so it's like space talk. They say that they were an ancient race of people that came down and helped humanity throughout its course. So like with the pyramids, they have descriptions of the Anunnaki. The Mayans had descriptions of the Anunnaki. You have the Incas too with the same descriptions, same figures, and this is like worldwide. So it's not just a sheer coincidence. Like multiple groups of different people have the same description of this group of people. Um, but yeah, so I kind of lost myself on that little rant. I'm not gonna lie. Anunnaki.
Yeah, you're just mentioning how like it. Oh shit!
That's my cousin.
That
He's here.
scared me. I'm like, cause I looked
Talk
down
about
for a
visuals.
second, and the door just looks like it just floated open, bro.
Yeah, no. My
Oh
cousin's here from
my
Japan.
god! Oh, that's
Yeah.
dope. But like, do you ever get scared when you do it? Like, is it legal first to have?
Let's not get into the legalities of that.
Like,
let's
you showed it
let's
on
not.
camera. I just want to make sure it's legal.
Well, I'm not entirely sure if it's legal. Like if they catch you with it in the streets and like they stop and frisk you, sure you're gonna get in trouble. But to do, I don't think there's really a law out there saying no, don't do acid. They were using it for clinical trials and for helping people with PTSD and depression. So I would hope that a drug like that wouldn't be something that's like off limits. But also keep in mind that this drug is I don't even like using the word drug for this because I feel like it's more of
Enhancer.
right, like it opens your mind to such a degree that you start to question the actual reality that you're living in and whether or not your reality is a construct or if it's, something that you control, which it is. And every trip that I've done has led me to that same belief that our reality that we are currently living in is a byproduct of something that I'm creating with my mind because of the higher dimensional being that we are, like again, it's like you're playing as an avatar. Like your higher consciousness is playing you as an avatar in a video game and they're playing the game of life, right? And they're just trying to see who can win or who can get to their state of higher consciousness faster, you know? And that's literally what every acid trip has taught me. Every acid trip. This
It's
one especially.
it's like almost like when you're like you're sober,
Mhm.
you want to get to that state by yourself, but something's
Yeah.
blocking you, or you're
Mm,
always busy. There's something invading
okay.
you to get there, right? And so
That's
this just says there's no troubles in the world. We're gonna take you there. Let's see how long it takes you to get there.
mhm, mhm.
And so you do these things, but like, what do your parents think? Like, do they know? Do they object?
So, my parents, they know. They know. They don't know about how frequently it's done, but they know that I do it. I got caught with some pretty bad stuff, like the bad drugs that we should all stay away from. And after that, I came clean about like everything that I had done, and they weren't too happy. I'll say that. Like weed, they weren't happy about, which I never understood really because my brother is on medical like marijuana, so like there's kind of a duality there. Um, and then, there was some more hardcore stuff in there too that I myself am like ashamed that I ever even decided to do. But acid was never one of them. Acid has never been one of those substances that I can say like, oh, I regret this. No, not in the slightest. Um, yeah, no, parents are always going to have their ideas of what we should and shouldn't do. But I also feel like I have to live my life for myself. And sometimes that means taking a risk and trying something new, even if it's for the sake of just trying it. And you learn, like, hey, this isn't something that sticks with me. I'm not going to touch this ever again. You don't do it. But acid has always been one of those things that I know for a fact is something that I can rely on to make myself a better person.
It's almost like the parents, like, they don't understand like what it was like because they didn't have it at their time, or they've been just taught
Right.
like they went through a different way of like living, and so
They were just brought up different. Right.
yeah, and so to
Like,
them it's like horrible, and so like some parts of like these things are bad, but like if you use them correctly, they
right. Right.
benefit you. So like,
For sure.
are you ever afraid that
Mm,
you know how to start it well, right? But then
mhm.
something happens during a trip that makes you do some more or do something else. and that may not end in a great situation. Do you ever get scared of that?
So are you talking like by more?
Overdose,
Do you mean
maybe?
over? Okay, okay. So that's the thing with acid and shrooms. It's not that kind of drug that's addicting. Um, you're never gonna have the urge to be like, oh, I want to do more acid while you're already tripping, because that's not how it works. You won't get that feeling at all. If anything, it's the exact opposite. You'll think, damn, like maybe I took a little too much and I'm tripping like out right now. And that's fine too. But you would never want to take more, ever. Because one dose is already enough to put you in that headspace of, okay, now I'm just going to reflect on myself and my life and see what I can change to make myself better. That's literally it. It's not like, oh, I need this high. No, because that's the thing with acid too. Like, it's not even about the high that makes it worth doing. It's the mental clarity that you get after that 2-3 hour grace period of the high that actually makes a difference, because that's the time that you're spending reflecting on the things that you've gone through, like, and all the past trauma that you've had. And I've definitely worked out a lot of my inner demons with it, for sure, for
So
sure.
you said you got the crystals from a shop.
Yeah,
So
it
like,
was a
I
little
feel
crystal
like
shop.
I feel like that would be if someone can sell it, you could do it at your house then, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so well, the crystals I don't even do just on acid. Like, I've always been into crystals just in general, because I do feel like, they give off a certain frequency and energy, and some crystals are meant for different things. Like, some I can use for positivity, some for like self love. Depends, right? So like rose quartz, for example, is a crystal that's meant for like self love, self worth. So I would hold that if I'm ever feeling like, okay, maybe I'm not worthy, maybe I don't love myself as much as I should. I would maybe meditate with that, and then make myself feel better. That's how I think of it as. So it's not really like, oh yeah, I only use crystals for acid or anything like that, but you can definitely do it at home. Like, it doesn't take acid to sit and meditate and reflect on things. You can always do it without it. Um, and if anything, that's what you typically do after a trip. Like, even after that trip was done, my friend and I that stayed over the night at the Airbnb, we spent the next morning meditating and just reflecting back on what had happened the night before. Because honestly, it was crazy. But either way, we would have still, just sat down and sorted out our thoughts and just centered ourselves again. And after doing a trip, you don't really get the sense or urgency to want to do it for a long time, months, sometimes a year. Like, I didn't do it for a while up until recently. Like, yeah.
A crazy thought just came in my mind. I was like, you know,
Mm.
if you ever want to come back on, have you on a little bit of acid. I just want to see what it looks like, bro.
Ah! Oh man. Oh
How do you
man.
get it
See,
started? Like, what do you do? Do you lick it, or how does
no,
that
no,
work?
no, no. It's literally just like a little tab of paper. You would just put it on your tongue.
Because you
Well, I
said it
put
looks
it
like a
under my tongue.
rock. So how do
Oh,
you?
no, 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 no. The crystals are the rocks. The acid is literally here. Don't worry. This isn't actual acid for anybody watching. But imagine it was a piece of paper. It literally looks, actually, that's pretty accurate. It looks just like this. And the chemical is on the tab, and you just put it under your tongue, and you sit there, you let it marinate for maybe half an hour, 30 minutes until the paper dissolves. You can swallow the piece of paper after, and then you just sit back for the ride. That's it. That's all it takes.
So would you be down to like do that one day down the line on camera?
I'm
See how it
not
looks.
opposed at all. Not opposed at all.
I feel like something that would teach you as well. Like you would know like what you like, how you behave when you like do
Yeah,
take it.
yeah.
It could be like an
And for the most part, I
experiment.
behave the same. Like, I definitely know after the many times of tripping that, you know, it's definitely a different headspace, but I still act the same way. It's just a different line of thought, if that makes any sense. But I would definitely be interested to do that.
That
Like,
I mean,
I'm more than willing. You might get some on site representations of like what I'm seeing. I can describe it for you guys. I don't know. Sounds pretty
I'll
cool.
live vicariously through you.
Through me, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm
And
all
I
for it.
Yeah, and I think our viewers would love that, and I think this has been a great conversation. I think we talked about a lot of key issues.
We
Talked about a
definitely
lot of
did.
cool things and went from singing to restaurants and COVID to acid and trips and, you know, the
A lot
future's
of
looking
variety.
up. Yeah. I mean, people are gonna have fun with this one. I know we're gonna see you again, right? Since we're gonna have that trip.
Hopefully,
And
of course, of course.
that'll be cool when you'll be like, I just saw so many colors and you'll be describing these things and I'll be like sitting here like, is he
Like,
okay?
what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, should I
But
be worried?
I know, but thank you so much for coming on, bro. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Man,
It's been great.
I know I'm gonna be waiting for that album next year. Hopefully it comes out. You can record them
Yes.
and we want more of your singing to prosper, you to find your meaning in life, whether that be through the acid, not through the acid, whatever it may
Right.
be, right? So that's exciting. And so, any last words for our viewers?
Any last words? Well, again, practice makes perfect. Follow your dreams, honestly, because any shot that you don't take is a missed opportunity. So just take every shot,
Besides
no matter what
acid,
you.
I think you can
Besides
slide on
acid,
that.
right? Besides that one, besides that one, but like actual aspirations and dreams, definitely go and shoot your shot for that. Do your best and don't beat yourself up because nobody's perfect, and it takes a lot of practice to get to the level that everybody else is at. So just keep doing your thing.
Definitely. Well, I want to thank you guys for listening to this podcast, and this will conclude this session. And so, thank you so much, and we will hope to see Isaiah once again on
Yes,
a
sir.
trip. So, peace out, guys.
Bye, guys.